is I do a live lecture and I do them as a series. The last series was social media for government, local government, federal government, so on, ministers of parliament, senators. And I think there were 5 or 6 videos in that series. This series is on social media for universities, colleges, and higher education. If there is an issue with the sound, please let me know. I'm just looking at the moment and it does look as though I'm a little bit quiet. But I think you can hear me, so that's all good. Lighting's washing me out, but never mind. I don't think you're that fussed about it, are you? I'm just looking back at my notes from our last lecture. If you haven't met me before, my name's Laurel Papworth. I'm a social media consultant in Australia and globally, working primarily TV and film and things like that, but also with quite a lot of politicians, mostly here in Australia during COVID. So I'm in the habit of delivering live news on social media on Mondays and live lectures on Thursdays. And for instance, today's lecture on social media monitoring dashboards and tools and distribution tools and analytics tools and all that kind of stuff is because it's been a year since I gave that lecture and things have changed. So I get to practice on you. Isn't that fun? I'm going to switch across to share my screen in a moment, but I do just want to point out that the last lecture, which I can't find, was on target audiences and for universities and higher education, because targeting is different for higher ed than it is for, say, government. And we specifically went through the different kind of overseas students and managing different platforms, because obviously you have to invest your time where they invest their time, and not everybody in China or Southeast Asia or Central Asia is on Facebook all day. Sometimes they're on other platforms, and you know, if you're not familiar with WeChat and things like that, we have to think about those. We also looked at the different avatars that the algorithm uses, so the targeted professional, the mature hobbyist. There's quite a lot more to. I think a lot of people think undergrads are just kids straight out of uni. And as somebody who has studied as an adult, in fact, I got my Cert 4 in adult education training only a few years ago, even though I've been teaching and lecturing for decades. You know, that's not the case. Not everybody's coming in and doing undergraduate work as a 17, 18-year-old. Thank you, Gary. I appreciate the comment. Where are you coming in from, everybody? Let me know. I am interested. So, today, and I am rusty on this one, and it has been hectic today. So, I'm not as mentally in the place that I would be before a lecture. I like to have some quiet time before stepping out on stage at a conference. I'm making excuses. I'll stop right now. Okay. Let's go across to one of my favorite tools, which is called Feedly. I'm up here in the top right. I'll hide myself if I become annoying, but to be honest, it's a blank spot anyway. Feedly lets me bring in all of the news feeds and Twitter lists and different things that I might want to monitor, and I can put them into folders. So I have 2 accounts. Actually, I've just realized I've logged into my main account, but I also have a training account. The free account is a training account that I can empty and reset up. But you know what? It's fine. So I'm going to create a new folder, and I'm going to call this, uni monitoring. And at this stage of the game, when you're looking at your social media toolbox, you need to eavesdrop first before you get into the distribution and the scheduling and the analytics. Everybody kind of runs into content calendars and things like that. Really, monitoring is key. Even if you've got everything set up and you've already got a content calendar and you're scheduling everything, and you've got an EPG, electronic programming guide, and you know how everything's going to look, a monitoring dashboard is something that you can take on before before a campaign. So what I like to do before a campaign is start about 4 weeks before. Longer is better, but you take what you can get. And if somebody says to you for the start of the exam period or for student acquisition period or whatever, we want to run these kind of campaigns, I monitor 4 weeks before. So, we create this little folder called Uni Monitoring, or I'll call it HigherEd. It's not one of unis. HigherEd Monitoring. There we go. Save. And then I need to put things in here that I'm going to, monitor. So what I do for instance, on Twitter is I create a list. It's over here. I really don't like these icons. I think it's because I'm not a visual person. I'm a text person. I'd rather the word lists here and the word bookmarks here and the word messages here. It would be easier for me to scan and understand. Those three just look like the same thing to me. But if I go to lists, and I've got lots and lots of lists, and some of them are private lists. I think this one is not a private list. It's a public list. And you can go to someone like University of Queensland, and then you can add or remove them to a list. So you can create a list here and then add the university to the list. I think there's 83 universities in Australia. Let me know if I'm wrong. And like I said, I haven't taught this for like over a year. And I'm probably way out of date. Hey ho, nature of the beast. So add or remove from lists. I can also view lists, and I can see the lists that they're on and things like that. And in fact, what I do sometimes, a quick and easy way, is to put their Twitter handle in and then slash, is it list or lists? I think it's lists. Yeah, there it is. So, for instance, the University of Queensland has created a list called UQ official handles. And then these are different joint ventures, collaborative centres, centres for excellence. What did we used to call them years ago? My goodness me, going back now, in the 1990s, I taught at the University of Adelaide. Centre for something. Bridge Centre, something. Anyway, they've changed the names now. So UQP Books is obviously a publisher that's related to the University of Queensland. Now, what often happens when we're looking at tools is that either the higher ed and the colleges and so on don't know about lists, or they create the lists and then they have to manually check every list that they've created. So what I like to do is take, I can't remember if I have to take the list URL or if I take UQ and then the name, but we go into Feedly. See, I'm so rusty. Let me go to top right. Follow news sources, Twitter feeds, and let me just try, that's the wrong one. Let me try this one. Back to here, select all, paste. Yes, okay. So I paste in the link. I wasn't sure if I had to do UQ_news/list/UQ official handles. I think you can do both, but it's just easier to copy and paste the list and see the secret ID up there. That's a unique ID for Twitter lists. And then I can choose between monitoring a Twitter list for UQ News, UQ official handles, or I only want the ones that have links out, and then it will allow me to monitor the links that are being linked out. So I'm just going to choose the main one. Again, I'm using Feedly. Now this is my pro account because I forgot to log into the free training account. My bad. But look, I think the pro account is like $4 US a month. It's not big bucks. And I need to keep the bucks down because higher education is not like small business where they just go, oh, $20 a month, we can pay that on a credit card. Often you have to put in a proposal, you have to get the central finance office to approve it. It gets approved for a quarter or for that financial year, and then you have to go through the whole thing again. And it's not so much the money, often it's that it's just a pain in the behind to get anything done. So we keep our tools to free, or maybe something that can be taken out of petty cash. So I just want that one, and then I need to say I want to follow it, and I want to put it in my, what did I call it? HigherEd monitoring. Can you see that? Yes, you can. It's funny because I'm watching the live and I'm watching my preview, and there's a good few minutes difference between them. Oh, well, never mind. So now when I click on HigherEd monitoring, if I'm in the way, just yell at me and I'll vanish, but you know. It's now pulling in the tweets and what's being shared. And it says the most popular, so it shows you what's sort of going around that's popular. And then it shows you what's popular today. And I want you to think through, you know, Twitter lists that other people have created, or what Twitter lists you could create and pull in. I have to do a few tricky things to get Facebook in, because Facebook doesn't allow you to burn an RSS feed really easily. It's basically using RSS, really simple syndication. Syndication just means if the content appears over there, bring it in over here. So if the content appears in that newspaper, syndicate that article to this newspaper. Or if that thing is posted on Twitter, then syndicate it into my dashboard. And not every platform makes it easy for you to do that, but I do like Feedly for this. I did try InnoReader, but it just mucked up so many times and just didn't allow me to have the things that I wanted, that I had to skip it. All right, so what else did I want to go back into my list. I'll bring you in a minute. If you've got any questions about RSS feeds and that initial monitoring stage, please let me know. But you'll see more as we go through, and then how we take that into the distribution area as well. So if I look up, yep, that's the one I want. Where is it? I had a list here which was the Vice Chancellor's group. And I'm not sure that I've got it anymore. Oh, it's so annoying. Who's your favourite Vice Chancellor on Twitter? So what I'll have to do, I think, is... Let me just bring this up. I'll vanish. You know what I look like. Australian Vice Chancellor. I think here's the guy at Bathurst. He's usually pretty good. People. Oh, I know what it is. It's Australian. Vice Chancellor. Here we go. This is Professor Brian P. Schmidt, Vice Chancellor of the Australian National University and Nobel Laureate. And he's only got 4,000 followers, which just goes to show you that it's disgraceful. Having said that, when was the last time he tweeted? Oh no, he's tweeting. Okay. So VC_ANU, they must hand them over like POTUS or something when people leave. But I put all the vice chancellors on a list that I can find. Not every university has a vice chancellor that's willing to be a spokesperson on the social media. Okay, I know this is a lecture, but let me go into a little bit of a rant. If you're the CEO of an organization or a chancellor, vice chancellor of an organization or whatever, and if part of your mandate is communication, I'm not saying you have to be on every platform, and you definitely don't have to be on TikTok if you don't want to be, even though your audience is there, but ensuring that you have some comms that's not heritage media is kind of important. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. So not just having a Facebook page, or just, especially after the fiasco between Facebook and the government, but to choose not to communicate at all with an audience puts you at risk in times of crisis comms, because you have to rely on the journalists and the editors in heritage media passing out your message about students being raped on campus and harassed on campus, or overseas students coming in for trouble. And those things have an international, let's just say, it creates a bit of a shitstorm online. And if you don't have a grown-up, if you're only relying on the comms department to send out comms, you're in trouble. And Gartner had a report which said that the best thing to do is to have, you know, somebody senior in the organization put something out on their channel. Anyway, it's, you know, if somebody asks you, as the social media manager at a university or college, should I be on social media? What's the benefit of being on social media? You just say, Gartner report said that people trust the information coming from a senior staff member as opposed to from the comms department. Whatever. You decide. We've got here, a little word of a warning. We've got thunder and lightning around us, and we've already had 2 power outages this morning. I thought everything had moved on. I thought that the weather got the memo that I do a regular lecture at 1 p.m. on Thursdays, a live stream, and that the weather went, okay, fine, because everything settled down after the power outages this morning, and I can hear the thunder again. So obviously it hasn't come and gone. Let me just see the list that our new Vice Chancellor's on. They haven't created any. Let's see the list that they're actually on. So the first one you see is the one that they follow, and then this second one is the list that they've been put on. ANU, so the Australian National Universities created a list and just called it ANU, and put our Vice Chancellor on there. Universities, prospective and clients. Okay. Dude, make that one private already. You can make private lists. So this is what you're going to do. You're going to go onto Twitter and you're going to make lists. The 4 areas you need to think of. Up here are vendors and suppliers to you. So they could be guest lecturers, I don't know, maybe not guest lecturers, but anybody who supplies services to you. On one side are competitors and frenemies, and I would probably put in there joint venture competitors, maybe joint venture partners. So any key centres, that's what I was looking for, key centres that you're working with and doing research and study with partners. And then on this side, you want to consider staff. Having had to work with a university who had a lecturer that went a bit crazy and started abusing the university and the bureaucracy at the university in the middle of a lecture, and all the students got their mobile phones and live streamed it, and then it caused an issue. Yeah, you might want to consider staff, and I don't necessarily mean monitoring clerical staff, but people who might be building up a following online and put them on this side. So people provide you services, peers on here. And then in this group is leads, student acquisition, the popular students who have a lot of followings online. And I also throw in there keywords like nicknames for the university. And if you don't know what they are, you need to figure them out, because monitoring doesn't go very far on social media. Your toolbox won't work if you're only monitoring your own hashtags and your own content going out. That's me media, and that's not the interesting part. Back to here. So a little tip, I might have to go into here because I can never remember what the format is. Twitter list search, I think. Okay, so we will hide the screen share. There we go. You want to search in here Australia University, something like that. And it will search twitter.com, and then in the URL it will look for the keyword lists. So there's lists, there's twitter.com, it's going to search in there. The challenge, of course, is that sometimes it's just called memberships. But if you really can't find, once you find a single list, you can usually find the others. So what I'll do here is I'll just do really broad uni. And it says to me that Sydney Uni has a list called Faculties Centres. And then I can click on there. I can grab that URL and start putting it into my monitoring dashboard. Initially, you're monitoring before you start your campaign. You're monitoring before you launch something. You're monitoring into an audience that you may not have a good grasp of, and that you need to understand what their key issues are, how they're talking about things, what the sentiment ranking is, sentiment analysis, favorability, things like that. So it means that you don't accidentally walk in and create a big problem online because, I don't know, you mentioned what's hot at the moment, vaccines. Anybody even mentioning the word vaccines at the moment is going to come in for some scrutiny from groups that you may not have wanted to come into scrutiny from. So just trying to understand what are the hot topics within specific target audiences. So if you looked at target audiences last week, this is about learning and understanding them some more. So I've shown you Feedly, you can bring in Twitter lists. I've also shown you that you can use Google search to search for Twitter lists. And it's because Twitter doesn't have a list search facility. Having said that, no, okay. If I search up here for uni, let me just bring this in. We'll do a uni search. You can have a look. Yeah, there's no option here to click on lists, so you're going to have to use the Google one. If you go to the Sydney Uni, oh, they follow me. Hi, University of Sydney. I miss you guys. Little bit, little tiny bit. Do you miss me? Little tiny bit. And then I go, so once I find one person, a vice-chancellor or the uni library, maybe don't go for the uni bar because they're just following bands. Then again, maybe do. I don't know. And then click lists. You'll find more lists. So, Google search is only going to get you so far. You want to start to look at what lists other services are following or subscribe to. And in the case of a library is going to follow students, they're going to follow other libraries, and they're going to follow the parent organisation, Uni Sydney Official, those kind of lists. And then I want to point out, because I think I was hiding it, in the top right up here, ... more, lists they're on. And so you can click on there and see what lists you've been placed on. If there's anything in here that's rude, I don't think we'll come up with anything. Actually, I don't want to see anything rude. If there's anything rude, you block the person that created the list, and that removes you from that list. So let's say, and I'm going to be polite here, idiot lecturers at uni. That's me being polite. You can click on the list. You can't block the list, but if you block the person that created the list, it removes you from the idiot lecturers at uni list. Probably well worth knowing. Okay. So that's monitoring. The 4 quadrants of monitoring. Feedly is the tool for monitoring. And then I chose Twitter lists as the example, and how to find lists and how to bring those lists in so you can monitor. The next stage, 1:30, good, we're on track. My pacing, when I haven't given a lecture for a while, my pacing's shocking. Pacing's always shocking, but whatever. That's the reason why they have bells, isn't it? I think the bell is there to say, hey, Lowell, finish up now. Okay. So once you're in here and you find something that you're interested in, so MSSI Melbourne is excited to be part of this new collaboration. Thank you for welcoming our team. I probably wouldn't share that because it doesn't have enough of the algorithmic keywords, the semantic keywords that the semantic engine needs to know what the collaboration is on, what it's about, so that it can put that in the Twitter feed of most popular or the most whatever. I know this isn't a lecture on Twitter, but when I go here, this has been organized for me by Twitter using an algorithm. So it's the same as the Facebook newsfeed. That's one of the reasons I like lists, because last in, best dressed. And like that one was 11 minutes ago, and then this one's 59 seconds ago. So just a slight aside, the platforms actually, the algorithm actually goes through to the landing page and then reviews the landing page, does object recognition of photos and looks for keywords and things like that. So it's not too much of a problem to have this. However, if you were mentioned in this and you wanted to reshare it or retweet it, you can, now that you've got stuff coming in, you can now push things out. I look like I'm dancing. This is usually the point in the lecture where I say to the students, if you don't laugh at my jokes, I'm going home, because it's about halfway through, and if they haven't laughed at my jokes, they need to step up. So once the information's in and I'm selecting and choosing things that I'm going to distribute that help build the brand, build relationships, build engagement, build influence, build knowledge, secret things, what am I trying to say, build leadership within the sector. Once I've chosen them, I can then come up to, let me go up there, up to this top right corner, and I can say I want to share to Buffer. So I have, for instance, a Buffer account. I can share an article on email to someone and say, this could be a problem, we need to keep an eye on this. I can share something to Facebook if it's a photo that I've seen or something that I think would be interesting. If I share it to Hootsuite, if you've got a Hootsuite account, you'll be able to schedule it to go out at a particular time. We'll get to Hootsuite in a minute. I can share it to LinkedIn, I can share it to Twitter, and then any others that you've added, you can then choose to share it out to those. So what happens is you end up with this hot and cold running stream. It's not really hot and cold. I'm just using a water tap analogy. It's this fire, they used to call it fire hose. I don't know if they still do. but there's this fire hose of content coming through, all put into little folders, Facebook pages and Twitter accounts and LinkedIn, and you might want to put blogs in here and newspaper sections and all kinds, and you can click on each one, choose content, and then decide what to do with it. And it's going to fall into 3 areas. One is monitoring only. So for me, monitoring is about industry news. So if we're setting this up for a university or college or a school or higher ed or something, it's just about what's going on in the industry, what are the changes. You might want to put the Department of Education in a folder. And, oh, thank you. You do realise that this is a lecture and you're commenting on my hair, but I don't mind because you're complimenting it. So keep it up, keep it going. Keep the important questions for the end. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I just want to put this up on the screen. So Francis is being very kind, and so is Gary. Been talking way too much. Zooms and videos and lives and press and all kinds of stuff. So I'm coughing. But if I choose healthcare professionals can learn economics for better decision making in this 5-day short course taught by experts from the University of Queensland Centre for Business and Economics of Health. Actually, that's an awesome course. I was talking to a doctor years ago, and he said that he had to set up his practice and he had no business experience. We were talking about marketing. No marketing, no business, no nothing experience. That's okay, Francis. And why aren't you watching me on LinkedIn? You said you were going to watch on LinkedIn, not on Facebook. For anybody that's just come in, my name's Laurel Papworth. And I forgot to show you. Oh my goodness. I created a new strap. I should have put it on at the beginning. What was I thinking? Too many moving parts. But there you are. You're going to have it a second time. And that also helps the video algorithms that actually read text on the screen to know what this is about. So back to bottom left. And I forgot my earrings. Honestly, I don't know where my head's at today. So awesome course. Yeah. Because it's Twitter, it's text focused. That's just how Twitter is. I mean, you can click on it and go and have a look at any pictures or anything else that they've got. And then you can reshare from here. But if you wanted to share this onto Facebook, you'd probably have to fiddle-faddle around again. What are we doing here? So we can click on tweet this. And it says, would you like to share this on Twitter? And then it warns me that the link everything's a bit too long. And I think if I take this out, yeah, it's too long. I'll take out limited places available. People can figure that out as they go along. I don't know why I'm doing this. I'm not actually going to share it, but I wanted you to see what it looked like. So this is a little Twitter pop, they're called popovers, and you'll be able to tweet this out. You can add images and you can edit it and do whatever else you need to do. And if it is too long, then you can just edit that one down. If I Facebook this, does it look better? I can change it to my page. See this? It doesn't look very large, but that's the largest I can make it. I'm sorry. Share on a page you manage, and then it says which page, and I'll just choose one of my training pages. Howdy. And I'm sharing out the tweet. Now, and I can send it newsfeed or the story or whatever, and then I click post to Facebook and it will go out. If I want to schedule it, I'm going to have to use Hootsuite or Buffer or one of the other tools. What tools do you use? Let me know. And I'm only using Buffer app and Hootsuite as examples. I think years ago I used to encourage my clients that were universities and higher ed to use Sprout Social, but I'm not anymore. In fact, I'm working to get people off of them, off of Sprout Social. Buffer app, it's ever since they got rid of the ability to read comments, they've not been useful. And I couldn't believe it, but they wrote, to get higher engagement, we're turning off comments. On what planet does turning off comments help engagement? Frustrating when titles, let me just come back on this one. Frustrating when titles of resources you want to tweet are too long and you have to edit before posting. Some people think titles don't need to be concise. Francis, that's true. And one of the challenges for universities is to have a universal branding around comms on social that isn't a document from on high being passed down, but actually explains how to build a village. Come back in. Oh yeah, I forgot I had that on. How to build a village by having the library share, the main office and the Department of Education sharing this, and the Department for Education, not, I was thinking government, and basically acting as what we call a guild. So if you're familiar with feudal society and marketplaces back then, and I'm certain that you are, if you've been watching The Witcher, you are, a guild is the way that a group come together, and an industry organisation, if you like. And what you do in a guild is you ensure that the right people are in the guild, and those that are not genuinely part of the values are not part of the guild. So you share things to each other's audiences and you throw them about, and that tells the algorithm that the students that like the university library content, doesn't matter what platform, are the same people who like the student union content, are the same people who, and the algorithm is profiling both the core audience and the lookalike audience. I'm sure you've come across those in your social media travels. It profiles them both, and it ensures that the communication exchange moves between all the different university areas so that the right people are getting the right content at the right time, contextual. In my experience, one of the things I work on is ensuring that the universities understand that they don't just monitor and eavesdrop, but they must share. So they have to think about the shareability of their content, the content they're bringing in to then share, and the content they're putting out that the guild can share. See, I'm rusty, but the guild thing is a valid example. Yes, it's a real hard slog getting university departments to publish online consistently and on brand. Some, yes, and some areas of the university do it better than others, and also it may depend on the person that it's being dumped on. I'm sorry, that got to volunteer to be the social media person. So libraries, I find, do really well because they're, particularly with things like Twitter, they're wordsmiths. They're used to putting out little succinct snippets. I think librarians often have the kind of background that it involves writing and books and being a wordsmith. So they often take to these platforms really well. I don't know that the physics department and the engineering department do the same, but who knows? Having worked with the engineering stereotype for years, short and succinct dot points work, and that's about it. But that's fine. That's their audience too. Always communicate in the language that your target audience communicate in. And by language, I mean lingua franca. So if you're talking to engineers, some dot points. If you're talking to the writing English language, English literature group, you need to kind of do some storytelling. Francis, do you mind if I ask what uni or what library? I'd love. You said that they're excellent. I'd really like to have a look at a piece of their content. Are you able to tell me that, or is that not a cool thing to ask? If it's not, let's keep going. It's probably not. Okay, Hootsuite. I'll choose Hootsuite because a lot of people have Hootsuite. I'm on the free version. I think maybe 6 or 7 years I had the paid version and then I swapped it out. So if you're not familiar with tools like Hootsuite, I mean, I showed you Feedly for bringing news in and then for doing a quick, sending things out. So if I go to all feeds and then I choose something. Oh, yes, I do want to point out, because I think it's not clear, that on Feedly, you don't have to have the magazine layout. Was it the magazine view one? Yeah, you don't have to have that one. You can change it to title only. So it's more like a toilet roll of information, technical term. You can do a cards view, and then I've got to have my monitor. Let me bring this down. So that it's more layout like this, sort of wireframes. Hey, that's me. And the other view is article view. So you're going to go through and you're going to scroll through every single article. I don't know who that would suit. For me, it's about the highlights, and then I can go in and read more if I need to. With Hootsuite, you are stuck in this format. I'm sorry, I'm just going to make this a little bit smaller because I think I'm just way too big. You don't need to see me that big. There we go. So there's Twitter mentions, there's LinkedIn mentions and YouTube mentions and things like that. So this is me media. I've called it mine. It's people responding to my content. But that's not the only discussion that's happening out there. People are talking amongst themselves about you without actually responding to your content, or they're talking on an industry level. And I did get sidetracked. I wanted to talk about the different ways that we use monitoring dashboards. So the first one is for industry news. And it's just to bring in news about what's happening. So you might follow the Department of Education because you want to know what the minister's saying about funding during COVID for universities, something like that. Or when will international students, blah, 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 open up again. So it's all about what's going on in your industry, which can help you with the second one, which is crisis comms, technically known as a shitstorm online, which probably means if I was monetized, this would be demonetized, but I don't intend to monetize, so there you go. Not in that way anyway. And this is not sponsored, and I'm not affiliated with a university, and I'm not going to tell you to sign up with a particular university for a particular course unless I'm teaching one, but I'm not currently, so I'm not going to do that. I can sponsor my own videos. But crisis comms is around looking at where a lot of heat is coming from a particular area on a particular topic. And sometimes I open up Feedly in the morning to have a cup of tea, and then I go, okay, this story is going to break. And when the press get to hear of this is going to be a big story. I might have to call someone before I finish my cup of tea and let them know this is going on. Or else there's Schadenfreude, which is you're just sitting there watching it happen to somebody else. So, Schadenfreude? I feel like I'm saying it wrong. I probably should have looked that up. Oh, thank you, Francis. I'll come to that in a moment. That'll be good. Thank you. So we're looking at what's happening in the industry, thought leadership from AVCC, or what are they telling us now from the Department of Education in Canberra, or whatever else you would consider to be important news within your sector, university and higher education sector. And then the next one is crisis comms. What is that lecturer going on about on Twitter again? Or why are these students using "we hate blah blah uni hashtag. What's going on? So being able to find and monitor all of those. There's other things as well. There's jobs. There's the stock exchange. There's journalists bringing a lot of traditional media in and monitoring, the education section of the Australian. Is there still an education section of the Australian? It's been a while since I've looked. Oh yeah, it's called Higher Education. I knew that. It's been a long time since I looked. So having at least the headlines coming in from here, if you're not already subscribed. If you are subscribed, then of course you'll be able to see more because you'll be logged in and it'll be able to display more for you. So all of these things make up your monitoring dashboard. Your distribution dashboard needs to have 3 or 4 services, I think. So one is that I need to bring into, for instance, something like a Hootsuite. I'm not saying Hootsuite. You do bottom left. Why did I click top right? Top left. Bottom left. You can bring in your hashtags. You can bring in, I bring in things that I want to show in class, so specific areas for my next class that I know I can rely on these sources to give me interesting things depending on the topic. I have a list of Forbes social media people that I can monitor on there, and I've done quite a bit of a cleanup in this area, but pretty well they're my boards at the moment. If I go to create a post, if I'm willing to upgrade, I can post to Instagram, but I'm going to use Creator Studio for that anyway. I can choose the accounts I want to post to, 1 or more, so I can choose many of them. And this video's live streaming, not because of Hootsuite. Hootsuite doesn't have anything to do with live streams. This is live streaming to Facebook, to Twitter, to LinkedIn, and to YouTube Live simultaneously. You will be told you shouldn't do the same content on every platform, and it will depend on your social media strategy, which we did last week. People tend to choose their poison. So if people like Twitter, they're on Twitter. People that like LinkedIn are on LinkedIn. So if you want to reach them, you need to be on all the platforms to tell them the things that are suitable for them. And you would only ever put up different content on different platforms if you've decided that you're going to talk to the youth on Instagram and the mature hobbyists on Facebook and the smart professional, what are they called? The targeted professional, which is professional development training through HigherEd on LinkedIn. But then you're missing audiences as well. And that is, that's both the benefit and the challenge of targeting these issues. Anyway, let's finish up on Hootsuite. It's not a how to do Hootsuite. It's just giving you an idea of the different tools you can use. You can drop your media in here. You can do your assets. You can schedule for later. Do you say schedule or schedule? And you can save a draft so that you have to have people approve it before it goes out. And Hootsuite's pretty cool. If you have the paid for version, you can add teams, and then your editor can approve what other people are writing and want to send out. So add in all your networks, create streams. So add in Twitter, add in a hashtag HigherEd or EduAU or EdTech or OzTeach or any of those hashtags. And to monitor there. You can do it on Feedly as well. I prefer Feedly for monitoring because Hootsuite's too limited. It won't allow me a lot in the... I don't think the RSS stuff works anyway. Or I couldn't get it to work. Maybe it's just me. And then use the scheduling here to send out. Of course, Facebook/Instagram has a built-in scheduling tool. So if you don't want Hootsuite and you want to stay within your Business Suite Business Manager, look at that face. See, this says naught views and naught engagement, and I'm looking at how many comments. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, at least 10 comments from Facebooks. So we're going to create a post here. Francis, what are you saying? Students complain via Facebook confessions community pages, and that's uni specific. Yes. And isn't it better that you know what they're complaining about than you don't know? Because in times past, it's not that these kind of crises didn't happen. It's that you didn't know about them until a journalist was screenshotted something or passed something. Now, at least, if you can find a way of getting into the groups, I belong to a group at the moment that's I hate my blah blah high school, and some of us have been out of high school for a long time, and it was interesting because I noticed that even people my age are still having rants about things that happened many decades ago. So things that happen at school and at uni stay with us. So it's maybe a good idea to monitor some of those things. But anyway, let's come back here. So if you're not familiar with Creator Studio, you go to business.facebook.com/Creator Studio. You create a post and you can do videos. You can do, no, I'll get out of the way. I thought I was out of the way there, but I'm not. Create a post, you can add a story, upload videos, and you can do this for both Facebook and look over here, Instagram. So you can do this for Facebook and Instagram. Yes, I know Hootsuite lets you do LinkedIn and lets you do the others as well, but you know. So in my create posts, I create the post, I schedule the post. Sorry, I schedule it or backdate it. And then I can restrict the newsfeed targeting to only people that already like the page. Or if it's a job for someone in the higher ed section, I can change the newsfeed targeting here and then say that they're a lecturer. I may not want the students to it doesn't have to go to the students if we're looking for a new, lecture in something or the other. So that is built into Facebook. And it's a fairly new area which is changing all the time. I will say, download the app, will you? The app's a bit crap at the moment. Let me just make sure that I've got it on here. It's, I don't know if you'll be able to see it. I can plug this in to my multi-switcher and show you, but lazy, my vision switcher. So that one, basically it's got a Facebook F on it and creator. And that'll give you, it's got a play button on it, and that's Creator Studio. And that will allow you from your phone to schedule your Instagram and your Facebooks. And then what I do is I choose collections and I put pages into collections. Some are for training, some of them are for my businesses, and there are others as well. Obviously, part of the thing that you're looking for from your dashboard. So we've got a monitoring dashboard, which I went into in great detail. And then we looked at Hootsuite and Creator Studio to schedule posts going out. I've got a whole section coming up on that. I think it's not the next one, it's the one after. And that's going to be on what we call... Oh, no, I'm sorry, it is the next one. I'm an idiot. The next lecture, next Thursday, is on content creation. And there's some tools there for that one as well, and an EPG. So setting up a regular Mondays this and Fridays that, and whatever your EPG looks like. And I will go into more details about the scheduling tools and the different tools there. But I wanted you to see today Feedly for monitoring and Twitter List for monitoring, and then Facebook Creator Studio and Facebook Hootsuite for scheduling. The Insights section, which is available to you from within Creator Studio and Hootsuite and other tools as well. We need to do a whole lecture on analytics, insights, subscribers versus followers versus engagement versus impression versus reach, and then sentiment analysis and semantic analysis and all the analytics part. One of my favorite lectures to give. I love it. And downloading the spreadsheets and all that kind of stuff. So that's going to be in not the next lecture, but the one after. The next lecture is on content and monitoring, and then the one after that's on analytics. So what I wanted to do today was take the part that we're finishing up, which is on target audiences and monitoring target audiences, so we can keep moving through our strategy, picking up tools as we go along. So this was mainly on monitoring dashboards. I am aware that it's 2:01. Francis, I didn't get an opportunity to put up your university's pages, but that's probably a good idea. I don't necessarily want to do a live audit at the moment. Those things take a little bit of a prep. Social media expert reacts to, and today's about the tools. As we finish up, there is one last thing I wanted to show you. And that is that as you go into a tweet, you will see the tools that the organization is using. So Rabi tweeted this on Twitter for Android. And then if I go to Professor Yuan Ritchie, Twitter for iPhone. And then if I go to, I'm trying to find one that's an actual uni. Vice Chancellor, QUB, this guy will do. Twitter web app. Twitter for iPhone. So I'm looking at what tools the universities are using, and that allows me to see, what are the options out there. That's interesting. What I recommend is that you pick somebody who's doing stuff well, but for your sector. And one of the challenges is that for universities that they're a hall of brands. I don't want to go into strategy. We don't have time. We're finishing up. But because you're a hall of brands and you have lots of topics for lots of target audiences, and if you think about, the creative type personas versus the engineering personas and all that sort of stuff, it's hard to do one branding voice for a university. Yes, you can write down that you're young and cool and edgy and diversity is your focus, or that you're Ivy League, red brick, traditional, conservative. You can write that down as your overarching voice, but then as you get into each department, finding the voice and mapping it to the audience, and then checking who to monitor, because you need to find the memeing type of things, because the algorithm pays attention to them and gets you more audiences, more eyeballs if you use stuff that's already popular within those groups. That the best way to do that is through monitoring dashboards. But I'm going to go into that stuff next Thursday when we look at content creation, content diaries, influencer diaries, engagement diaries, electronic programming guides, and how to structure all of that stuff. So I hope you found today useful. And yes, it's available to watch on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, and Twitter. I don't know when Twitter's turning off Periscope pretty soon, I think, so I won't be able to tweet out the videos live, but you'll be able to watch them on the other platforms. And just a reminder, at 10:45 on Mondays, I have a social media news live stream where we discover the news together and see what's been going on. And then on Thursdays, it's the lecture series, and the current lecture series is social media for universities, colleges, and higher education. So let me just put up the strap again. I've been working very hard on that strap. I've done way too much with that strap. It's called wasting time. Anyway, my name's Laurel Papworth. Thank you for joining me today, and I will see you in either the news on Monday or the next lecture or whenever I see you. Be good. Bye.